Welcome everybody to another edition of The Hurry Up. I'm your host, Adam. Let's get into this. So, the Giants lost another game to the Philadelphia Eagles. And while it was a pretty competitive game, and for all intents and purposes, I thought the Eagles were going to dominate, they had themselves a game. I mean, the Eagles needed to do what they did. I think they were knocking off the rust of Hurst. I think Hurst clearly, I wouldn't say clearly the shoulder's bothering him, but clearly, there was a little rust that needed to be knocked off. I mean, still, he threw the ball to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown had a pretty good game. So, the Giants lost. Davis Webb had 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 passing, 1 to Kenny Golladay. If we were to look at those stats and put them in the Giants' loss, but we would put them in the Daniel Jones category, those stats would have been through the roof. But I've done some research on the Giants, and I know what their main focus is their run team. So we'll see what they do against Minnesota. I know they passed all over the yard last time they played Minnesota. I don't think they're going to do that this time. I have a feeling that they learned their lesson. I know that was the weakness of that team. But I think the weakness really is their overall defense is lacking. Now, I don't know what Minnesota's going to do. Minnesota has 2 guys in the plus category of sacks, Preston Smith, Desarius Smith, and Donnell Hunter. So those are things to watch. But the Giants' backups against the Eagles played okay. They played okay. It's good to see, like, Tommy Fox get some burn. I would love to have seen Quincy Roche. I think Jared Davis might be the linebacker of the future here. I think he played well. I know people are like, "Oh, Jalen Smith." I think maybe they let Jalen Smith walk and bring in Jared Davis cheaper, and they let him and Micah McFadden and Beavers come in, and then you draft a guy. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of fun stuff that's going to be happening with the Giants this offseason. Starting with the receiving core. Again, that's we'll see what happens in the draft. We'll see what happens going forward. I think there's some wholesale changes that are going to be made. I think a lot of guys, I think people are loving what we're doing right now because we're winning. Had the record been, I always ask myself this question. If the record were different and the results were the results that they are now, would Barkley and Jones be back? And if you say, I don't know, then that's probably your answer. Probably not. But they're going to be back because we're winning. So we'll see, and we'll definitely dive into the free agent part of this when the Giants are eliminated from the playoffs at whatever point that is, whether that's Sunday, whether that's Super Bowl Sunday, who knows. But the Giants have a chance to do something in these playoffs. They play I wouldn't say a familiar foe, but a foe that they haven't played. It's not like they played Minnesota in week 1. They played Minnesota in week 13, 14, around there, 15, and we'll see. We'll see if the game plan changes. You got to be excited for the playoffs. Again, if you look at what the Eagles did, it was an exhibition game, so I'm not really taking much out of it. I'm not even going to be like, oh, look at the backups, what they did. I mean, because the backups played, but they still lost the game. It wasn't really much of a contest. It was a bunch of field goals, battle of the field goals, really. The Eagles looked like they were kind of vanilla, too. They didn't look like they had their full complement of what they were doing. And I think that was to protect Hurts, but also their offensive line is banged up a little bit, so I think they were protecting themselves with that. The Giants didn't have their full complement. I would have loved to have seen strength on strength what would have happened if the game plan changes, if Nick Sirianni does things differently, knowing that you're playing a backup role. I mean, I thought they were going to break the sack record. They did not. They only got a couple sacks. Robert Quinn, I think, got one. But I think the Eagles needed this rest. I think they need the rest because right now I think their team, it is a bit of a disarray after those 2 losses, and they're kind of reeling and trying to find themselves. The Giants, on the other hand, kind of know what their place is. They kind of know they're the 6th seed. They lucked out, winning a few of those games in the beginning. Goes to show, losing to Seattle didn't come back and bite them, although Seattle's in the playoffs, which is crazy to think. And then the Green Bay Packers are not in the playoffs, which is also crazy to think. Did we witness Aaron Rodgers' last game? Because I'm telling you right now, the Packers, had they found themselves a little earlier, we're maybe not talking about this the same way. And it took them a while to get going because they had a lot of, and this is what I'm talking about. The receiving core took a long time to develop. It took them to past mid-season with injuries and things like that, and they still aren't quite where they are. So if the Giants are going to revamp their receiving core, which, again, we're going to go through all of it, all the guys you should bring back, all the guys that, should walk. We'll go over that when the Giants are eliminated. But these are the type of things you got to think about when you're going to advance in the playoffs, and also the draft. Who knows where you're going to be? Who knows who you're going to pick? Who knows where who's going to fall to you? So, and in this case, I wouldn't suspect the Giants bring a lot of receivers in. They might bring a couple of different guys in to challenge, guys. But I'd be interested in Josh Reynolds, Paris Campbell. I know that a lot of these guys aren't household names and they aren't doing much better than what we got right now. So, maybe we keep Richie James, because Richie James, by the way, had a 71% catch percentage, second highest in the league, over minimum 50 catches. And they aren't the worst receiving corps in the NFL. And that's facts. It's called the Baltimore Ravens. Don't take my word for it. NFL Network put the stat up saying the worst receiving corps in terms of receiving yardage in the entire NFL. The entire NFL. And I'm sure it probably went up a little bit because obviously Baltimore had to play their starters, their receiving corps, and the Giants did not. But again, it just goes to show that don't just beat a dead horse. Really research. The Giants receiving corps has stepped up. Their coaching staff has put them in the right spot, and the guys responded. They could have easily went in the tank. They could have easily had more fumbles, but we remember Richie James 2 fumbles. Other than that, what has he done wrong? He's been a solid punt returner. He's been a decent slot receiver. He's caught most of the passes thrown his way. Isaiah Hodgins the same way, but he got a lot to look for. And Darius Slayton has the same numbers in the 4 seasons that he's been here. 3 out of the 4 seasons he's been here, he's eclipsed 700 yards and at least 2 touchdowns. So tons to look forward to. Again, this is going to be a short hurry up because not much, but tune into Wednesday's show because we're going to go over the Commanders game in the Sam Howell era. Whoa! And the Dallas Cowboys, they're reeling. We'll get into this game a little bit more in depth. And we'll preview the playoffs as 3 out of the 4 teams are headed to the playoffs. We will send off the Commanders the way we send them off, kind of give them their props. And then what we'll probably do is a full recap show in the offseason when all the teams are eliminated. But we can also, we'll do a lot of stuff. Just check out Mac and I. We're going to be with you till all the teams are eliminated and possibly past the Super Bowl. And then we might be bringing back premium takes. So, hey, check out what we're going to be doing. You're not going to miss a beat here. We're going to have all the offseason talk, football talk, everything you want. Come to this channel because it's going to be coming out here. But hey, Giant fans, we're in the playoffs. Looking forward to the Minnesota Vikings. Let's beat them and let the march go. Hey, if you're in the dance, you're in the tournament, you might as well go win it.